Today, in this lecture, I am going to share about the situation of Dalit women. So, overall, in a political, socio-economic, as well as especially the violence part of Dalit women are facing today. So, in this lecture, I would like to explain we have published a book, Dalit Women Rise for Justice. It's a status report for the year which we published in 2021 during the International Women's Day on 8th of March. So it's an opportunity for me to share about the findings, what is the situation that we got it, and what are the recommendations and way forward that we are thinking as All India Dalit Mahila Adhikar Manch. So coming to the situation of women, before that I would like to say the Dalit women constitute around 10 crore of Indian population. It's a 10 crore people of Dalit women. It's very equivalent to 8% of Indian population of India. So when we see what is the status, what are the things, they are continuous to face oppression because of the caste, class and gender. When we see the Dalit women, the patriarchy, what they are facing, we can't say that all women in India or face the same kind of patriarchal problems, because when we see the Dalit women, the patriarchy for Dalit women is manifested in such a way, it's on for them more on caste compared to gender. So when we see the Brahminical patriarchy creates a hierarchy among women, and also it reinforces the structural power between women, Dalit women and non-Dalit women. So because of this, when you see the solidarity between Dalit women and non-Dalit women, it's based on caste compared to gender. So we can see the solidarity is less because of gender identity more than the caste identity. So this is how we are looking into it. And when we see because of the Brahminical patriarchy, the Dalit women face oppression, exclusion, violence more compared to non-Dalit women. So it clearly indicates that Brahminical patriarchy, because of that, Dalit women are facing multiple forms of discrimination, atrocities, violence compared to non-Dalit women. So let's see what is how we are seeing, how we have been giving witness to these statements. We all know there are some occupations and some parts where Dalit women are more compared to other non-Dalit women. For example, when you take the Devadasi system, we all aware about Devadasi system. It's a religious way of acknowledging it by giving the young girls to the priest of a Hindu's thing. So when we see it's a temple prostitution, it's a kind of forced prostitution which still exists. Though there are legislation to prohibit it, but still it continues. So there is a data, Anti-Slavery International. As per the data, if you see, the Anti-Slavery International has published 93% of women who are involved in Devadasi or Dalit women. So it clearly indicates, so major portion of the Dalit women are involved in the Devadasi system. This is one of the data. The same kind, when we come about the manual scavenging, the women that they are involved in manual scavenging, when we see among them 95 to 98 are from Dalit community, the manual scavengers. So the way that we are seeing, and when we talk about the bonded labor, otherwise the modern slavery, even the modern slavery in the textile industry, in the garment industries, there are various schemes. Like example, in Tamil Nadu there is a Sumangali scheme, which says the minor girls, the adolescent girls can be part of that scheme so that they get employment in the textile industries. So it is a contract for 3 years. So they sign the contract. So at the end of the 3 year, at the completion of the 3 year, they will get a bulk sum amount which can be used for the marriage. This is the concept of the Sumangali system. So in this system, this is a kind of modern slavery. It's a bonded labor kind of thing. You have to sign the contract, and if you see in that, the women involved from the Dalit community are 60%. So when we see the various forms of occupations, it clearly indicates why only Dalit women are more. It is because of the Brahminical patriarchy, the women, it clearly indicates the women are facing more forms of discrimination, oppression and exclusion in the community. So this is the overall thing. But when we see into the socio-economic, broader sense of socio-economic political situation of Dalit women, when we see the education is a very important point, each and everybody knows. When we look at the enrollment rate in education, there are different categories like primary education. Among the Dalits, among the Dalit girls, 99% are enrolled in the primary level. The same thing when we see the so-called upper caste girls, there are the enrollment rate is similar to that, 99% they are also enrolled. But when we are coming to the secondary and higher secondary level, we can see the Dalit girls are starting to drop out. So when we see the higher secondary data, among the 99 who are enrolled in the primary school, the people who are enrolled in secondary and higher secondary is only 72%. But the same thing when we see in the so-called upper caste community, girl children, we are able to see their enrollment rate for the higher secondary school is 94. So the gender disparity is started in the secondary and higher secondary school education. So the same thing when we come to the higher education, when we see the enrollment rate among the Dalits women is only 15%. Whereas the dominant caste girls are 34%. So it clearly indicates, though we are starting from the same uniformity from the primary school 99%, we can see the dropout rate increases at each and every stage. It increases in the secondary and higher secondary, and when it goes to the totally, it ends up with 15.6% of girls entering the higher education from Dalit community. So this is the on education. Let's come to the employment. What is happening in employment? Among the employment, women are comparatively less compared to men. This is a known data to everybody. There is a gender disparity among working women and the men. So if you see, even within that, when we see the women between the so-called upper caste women and the Dalit one, when we see, we can see Dalit women are employed more. Their ratio of employment is 24%, whereas the non-Dalit women are 18%. What is the reason? When we see on what kind of things these people are employed, let's see. We have now the ratio 24 is to 18% of the dominant caste. So when we see in what are the areas these people are employed, when we see self-employment, Dalit women are less compared to the dominant caste women. When it comes to service, Dalit women are less compared to dominant caste women. When we are coming to this laborers, Dalit women are more, it's higher rate of Dalit women are in the laborer sectors. When we see 41% of the laborers are from Dalit women community. And when we see what is the dominant caste women's ratio, it is just 13%. So we can see a triple amount of Dalit women are employed in laboring. So it clearly indicates where the women, how the education is coming down. We can see the linkage between the education and employment. One side we are saying the education are reducing, another side we are clearly indicating Dalit women are casual laborers and they form 3 times than that dominant caste women. So it is also a data it provided by PLFHS. So it is also 2017 data. So these are the things. So when we see, we have seen education, we have seen employment, let's speak about political representation also. This is also very important as of today. As we all aware, more than 25 years the bill has been pending in the Lok Sabha, which is giving voice for the reservation for women. So people will think Dalit women already have Dalits, SC, ST have a reservation in the legislative. So what is their opinion? Why do they too support this kind of women's bill reservation? So when we see, we all know there are 543 seats in the Lok Sabha. When we see women seat, women representative in the Lok Sabha in the current thing, 78 women are there. Among that 78 women, only 12 are Dalit women. So it clearly says there is a gender disparity between Dalit women and non-Dalit women in the member of parliament, Lok Sabha. So when we see the same thing, we have reservation of 16% as we all know in legislation. So what is, there are 84 seats for MPs in the Lok Sabha for Dalit MPs. Among that, we are only 12. So when we see the percentage, we are just 14%. So this is very minimum. There is no separate segregated quota within quota. Among the Dalits, 50% should be a women, 50% should be a men. So we are in one way or other, we are at the mercy of the political party. So if they need, they will give a seat. If they doesn't need, they will give a Dalit men a seat. So this 16% is a whole where they can use their power. But the thing that we are demanding through the 33% reservation is there should be among 16%, there should be 33% for Dalit women. That is what we are demanding. So if we demand this, definitely our women from 12 Dalit women MPs to 28 Dalit women MP, it will be increased. So this is the thing that we are demanding the government pass the reservation bill, keeping Dalit women, ST women, all other minorities marginalized in mind and give a reservation. But don't give just like that 33% reservation for women. So this is also the thing that we are looking into it. So we have seen, now let's go to the land. Land, as we all know, it's a pride and prosperity to be a part of, to hold a land. There is a land distribution policy for SC and ST. It's very clear, everything is there. But what is the percentage the people are holding the land? Dalits, if you see, there is only 11% of the total population. Dalits are holding 11% only the land. 79% are from dominant caste community. So there is even the hold of land, holding the land for the livelihood, for the development. We can see a big stark difference between these two data. When we see about the Dalit women among the land holding community, it is very meager. It's very meager. So it clearly indicates, so, but when we see on the contrary, if you see 57% of Dalit women are agriculture laborer. So we don't have land, we don't have agriculture, but 57% of the laborers are agriculture laborer among the Dalit women. So it clearly indicates that they are capable to handle the land, they can able to harvest everything, but they don't have the land. So this is also the data provided by the government saying how many the Dalits are holding the land. So keeping this all the socio-economic political situation including land, we would like to give some way forward. We know that there are policy, reservation. Whenever we speak about reservation, all the youths get agitated. They used to say Dalits have reservation, Dalit have this thing. But when we see, it clearly indicates, right, there is a disparity between the Dalits and the non-Dalit girls. 15% higher education enrollment, and it speaks about for the non-Dalit women it is 34%. So this speaks about only enrollment, but we don't know what is the outcome. How many people are got through this higher education? As we all aware, there are various cases which says there is a discrimination in JNU, there is discrimination in various well-known different institutions. Because of this, people has committed suicide and other things. These are the data that we are knowing. And even there was in Roorkee University, we also came to know there was a discrimination, the way the teacher speaking to the Dalit students and Adivasi students, it clearly indicates. So these are the factors. So when we see this, it is definitely, it's important for us to look what is this reservation is providing. People say that there is no discrimination, there is no untouchability practice. But when I recently visited a school in Alwar in Rajasthan, I could able to see a 6-year-old boy was made to sit separately during the midday meal. It was very questionable why this 6-year boy was sitting separately. When I tried to bring them together, take a group photo, the boy was not ready to come within the same group. And when I tried to make the boy to get in, the other members of this classmates are started to move in other direction. So when we had an interaction, what is the thing? Why you people are not coming together? What is the thing? They are just a primary school. It's not a thing. So when I asked them, they said they are eating what we doesn't eat. They eat this thing, they eat. So there is people know in villages from where the person comes from which basti he comes from which slum, which community he comes from. So there is from even in the primary school in the villages we had this kind of incident. So do you think this fellow through this reservation he will continue till his higher education? It's really a questionable to each and everyone, because due to the poverty there is a force of the child by the parents, and he's a small kid, 6 years, so he has to obey his parents. So without willingness he is just coming to the school. But now do you think in higher education and through other things will he able to achieve this? So the people have to understand, when we speak about reservation, they should know the ground reality. They should go and visit the places. At least there should be some data should be seen. They have to analyze how many Dalit children are in IAS cadre, how many are in the media, how many people are in the VCs. We have in the colleges, we have to see. When we are looking for some Dalit women professors to address a conference, we are able to get not more than 3. So this is the status in Delhi. So among the 3, we identified one and we called for the conference. This is the professors level. So people say reservation just like that. They are Dalits are taking our opportunity, merits they are not worth. Give us the opportunity, see our performance. Maybe in the first generation we may be little taking time as it is a first generation, but in the second generation I very clear we will make a difference. We are equivalent, give the opportunity. There the constitution provision says equality, equal opportunity, equal status. It is the same argument, no, even for women. When we see in the parliament the 33% reservation, they say they can't do, they are not capable, they are not having merit. The same argument, how the Dalits are discriminated, the same way the women are also discriminated. So we can see a similarity between the Dalits and the women as a whole in the social structure. So therefore, in the recommendation, we would like to say that the reservation policy are there, very good, quite enough, but how much it has been implemented. Within the reservation policy, there are percentage for education, employment and political representation, but what is the percentage of women among that reservation? So within Dalit, what is the reservation for Dalit women? As we are aware, the government jobs are being reduced in the government sector, and at the same time the private sector is gaining more importance and jobs availability are more in the private sector. We demand reservation in the private sector too, because the scope and the development, education, employment, opportunities are becoming more and prosperous within the private sector. Therefore, we demand reservation in the private sector. So coming to the land, we also have a policy, national policy for land distribution for SC and ST. But there is no specific thing for the SC women. So it clearly indicates, since there is no policy, the number of people in the land holding community among the Dalit women are less. So definitely there should be a specific among the policy land distribution. There should be a clear indicator of how many percentage should be a Dalit women and Adivasi women. So it clearly will enhance the number of people having holding a land for their own occupation and livelihood. And coming to the education, as we all aware, there is a reservation, as I already said, for education also. But what is the implementation, how it is being done? It is very important for us to have we all aware that it is RTE Act is there, Right to Education Act. Because of this, we are able to see the people when we go to the village and various areas, we are able to see minimum 8th standard they are got through, passed. So whenever you ask a girl who will be working at home or at the outside of the thing, when we ask how are you, what is your educational qualification, they used to say 8th pass. So till 8th standard, because of this, in one way or other, the RTE Act, Right to Education Act, is supporting the people are interested to study, to carry their education, which gives a compulsory and free education. This should be extended till 12th standard. So it also a measure to increase the Dalit girls representation in the education sector at least till higher secondary level. So this is also we would like to say, and it is more important, as I said, there should be a human rights education values within the school curriculum. It's very important, because we all know, as I said, the Rajasthan in a school, what happened, how the children, even the primary level school children are behaving. It is very necessary to bring at the early age this kind of equality, non-discrimination, this kind of approaches should be there, gender sensitization. So it is very important for the teachers to inculcate this kind of cultures among the thing. We all know, whenever we study our political science, when we study our civics and other subject, they used to say unity in diversity, and they used to show a India map where they used to see the people dressed in various dresses, like if it is a Tamil Nadu person, they will wear a sari. If it is a Punjabi, they will wear a pajama, and like this kind of different dresses. But it is not only the diversity. Even among the village, what is the diversity? What is the cultural value that we are seeing? When a person is eating non-vegetarian, because of that you are discriminating that community. You are discriminating, you are sidelining, and the children are getting the feeling we shouldn't work, we shouldn't sit and eat with him. This is the values are we inculcating within the children. So the diversity, unity in diversity, and all the concepts should be applicable within the villages level. So these kind of efforts has to be taken by the teachers. So in order to bring inculcation, this kind of thing, the teacher should be provided human rights education, value system. Therefore this can be passed on. So this is very important thing, even in the bringing the children this kind of thing at the early age. And I would also say, to improve the Dalit girls school, residential schools are very important. Residential schools, and it should be in such a way they should be capable to reside there. Because when we visited various hostels, it's very difficult for the people. They having their interest, courage to study. That's why they are staying in such a residential hostel. But when we see the situation, the environment, the structure, infrastructure of it's very poor. So it is necessary for the government to enhance this kind of infrastructure for the residential school of the girls, so that they can get their higher education. And safety and security measures is very very important in the residential school. As we all know, we have heard various number of cases from the residential school, violence, sexual violence and abuses. So it is very important to keep the safety and security in the residential schools. Then I would like to say the scholarship. The scholarship plays a critical role. It enhances each and every person to study. It gives a courage, it gives a confidence that I will get my money back. The parents used to send, okay, let him study, let her study. I will get the money at the end of the year or during the year. But this is also become a questionable in the coming political situation. Every year we don't know whether we are going to get a scholarship, including a post-matric scholarship, whether we are able to, we will get, or after our education. So this kind of things also creating a problem among the implementation of the things for education. And also we are aware of the existing national policy for education, which says that education for graduation 4 years the course has to be done. It's very difficult keeping a Dalit boy or a Dalit girl continuing for 4 years of education to get a bachelor BA degree or BSc degree. It's really a challenging thing. So the government has to take into consideration when they decide a policy. They have to see there should be a collective of community should be represented when we discuss the policy. So there should be some space for us to say our expressions, our experiences, because we can't expect everybody must have our same experiences. There should be a collective voice should be heard before making any policy. So we also say that various factors should be considered and this policy has to be redrafted and replaced. As a Dalit woman, I would like to reimagine India to bring equality, justice and dignity to all women, including Dalit women. When we see through this reservation, it should be implemented. I want to see India which implement this reservation without various discrimination. Therefore, there should be an increase in Dalit girls' representation in the higher education and even the employment, that too especially in the government sector and in the political parties. The Dalit women MPs should be there equivalent to the men 50% of among the Dalits. So we also would like to see in Rajya Sabha, as of now only merely less than 1% of Dalit women is represented in Rajya Sabha. So we would also wish to see the adequate number of representation from Dalit women should be in Rajya Sabha. As we all aware, the private sector, as the jobs are going down in the government sector and the prosperity are more in the private sector. So we would like to see even in the private sector the reservation are provided for the Dalit men and the women. So therefore the number of people can be represented in private sector. Even when it comes to the land distribution, I would like to see the 57 laborers, Dalit women who are working in dominant caste land should have their own land. They should own the land ownership on their own name. So minimum 2 acre to 5 acre each Dalit women, the laborers who are currently in various fields should able to get agricultural land, so that we would like to see an India where the Dalit women are heading the house by using their development in their land. And coming to the education, definitely we would like to see the government and the people, especially the Dalit girls, are studying in a residential school which is well infrastructured. That is the thing. It has it should have a library facility, it should have a decent toilet, kitchen, meals and everything, so that they able to complete their higher education. Therefore the percentage from 15.6 to it should increase to 99% as equal to the primary school, as they have enrolled. So we would like to see that, and the same way the RTE Act, whatever the 8th till 8th standard, the education is been made free and compulsory. If it has been done till 12th or even higher secondary, higher education, definitely we would like to see the increase in Dalit women representation in various fields. We would like to see these kind of changes. Along with this, we would also say the national social security schemes, as most of the Dalit women are laborers, their social security should be provided. So they, whatever the laborers or whatever the work that they are doing, they should do with some kind of security. So this is also a major imagination that we are looking into it. And the health sector, we are aware during the COVID what is the situation of each and every woman, especially the Dalit women, because of the caste, class and gender. But we would like to see the health sector also provided sufficient budget allocation for the health care, including Dalit women. Therefore, they are able to access and live in a safe and dignity way. So these are the imagining, the reimagining India when compared to socio-economic political situation of Dalit women.